Oscar is spiraling, Marion is unraveling. And Bertha, she's about to declare war. If you thought The Gilded Age Season 3 had already served up its juiciest drama, Episode 7 is here to prove you wrong. With betrayals, forbidden romance, and a scandalous book threatening to shake the very foundation of New York high society, this next episode might just be the most explosive one yet. Let's dive deep into everything the trailer and first look images reveal, and everything they suspiciously leave out. We open with the aftermath. Oscar is grieving, and he's trying desperately to hide it. But the camera doesn't lie. He's seen clinging to old photographs of John Adams, clearly shaken, clearly broken. And while he might be trying to maintain appearances in front of his family, Marion sees straight through him. That quick shot of her comforting Oscar, tears rolling down his cheek, tells us that something inside him has truly snapped. For a man who's spent so long hiding who he is, this feels like the beginning of his unravelling, and yet he still tries to pull himself together. We get that brief glimpse of him walking into Bertha's drawing room, yes, Bertha Russell, and let's pause there for a second. Why is Oscar going to Bertha? What kind of favour is he asking? He's not someone who gives compliments lightly, so when he tells her she's as powerful as Mrs. Astor, you know he wants something. Is this about Marion and Larry, a desperate attempt to undo the engagement fallout? Or is it something darker? Business, blackmail, or maybe even revenge. Meanwhile, Marion is still emotionally reeling from what happened with Larry. She says it's over. Peggy presses her gently, like a true friend, but Marion is firm, no second chances. But honestly, can we talk about how rash her decision was? She didn't even let Larry speak. Yes, he made a mistake, but he was trying to keep things dignified in front of her aunts. And now he's left standing there, holding the ring she mailed back, completely stunned. What hurts most is how quickly he assumes Bertha orchestrated the whole breakup. And George fans the flames, still bitter over the whole Duke situation with Gladys. But let's be honest here. For once, Bertha is actually innocent. Now, about that book. Mr. Ward McAllister's scandalous tell-all is finally causing the chaos we've been waiting for. It's not just gossip, it's betrayal. Mrs. Astor is furious. Bertha is intrigued. And even Mrs. Fish is involved. The three of them meeting at the Van Ryn household. That's historic. The old guard and the new elite under one roof. You know things are serious. They're plotting something big, and it's all aimed at McAllister. The title of the episode, Excommunicated, makes it clear. He's being cut off, and we're going to see exactly what that means in this universe of strict social codes and ruthless power plays. Also, let's not forget about the growing mystery inside the Russell household. There's a mole, someone leaking information. And I still think it's Adelheid. She's always lurking, always watching. That scene where she hesitates before stepping closer to Bertha? Way too suspicious. And who else would know the details about Gladys's personal wardrobe? The fact that Bertha's own staff might be betraying her? That's next-level drama. Still, a part of me wonders if we're being misled. Could it be someone else entirely? Speaking of Gladys, she and Hector are spending more time together, and their chemistry is becoming undeniable. Fans are still divided on Hector. Some think he's too slimy, others are fully on board with this match. But either way, Gladys seems smitten. And honestly, it's nice to see her smile for once. But the question is, how long will it last? We know Julian Fellowes doesn't give us happy endings that easily. And if the real-life inspiration for their story ends in divorce, well, let's hope the show chooses a different path. There's also a sweet moment, brief but powerful, between Peggy and William. They're having a peaceful picnic, totally in love. But of course, that peace won't last. William's mother, Elizabeth Kirkland, is still pulling strings. And as we'll see in the next episode, she brings in a new character, Mrs. Ernestine Brown. Played by the incredible Leslie Uggams, she's poised to blow up Peggy's life all over again, because she knows about Peggy's son. The one taken from her. The one who died. And that secret, once revealed, is going to change everything between Peggy and William. It's hard to forget the moment Peggy tried to confess and William shut her down. He didn't want to hear it, but now he won't be able to ignore it.
And then there's Mr. Borden, running down the street in a full sprint. What's going on there? Is his cover as a fake French chef about to be blown? Could he be mentioned in McAllister's book? Or maybe he's trying to warn Bertha about the mole? Either way, the stakes are rising in every single storyline. No character is safe. No secret is staying buried. And that's just scratching the surface. The trailer is bursting with tension, but it's the silences, the glances, the missing moments that really build the suspense. Why is Marion standing at the top of the stairs looking down at Oscar? Is he drunk again? Is she scared for him? Or maybe Maybe she's the only one left who truly cares about him. Then we have Bertha, calm but clearly calculating. Her empire might be under threat, from inside and out, but she doesn't panic. She plots. And when Bertha Russell plots, people fall. Let's get into everything the first look images quietly revealed and the emotional explosions that might be waiting just around the corner. Because if there's one thing the Gilded Age has taught us, it's that what's left unsaid is often more dangerous than what's spoken out loud. The first image shows the Van Ryn kitchen. Pretty standard. We've seen this location every episode, but look closely. The staff doesn't look calm. There's tension. Is this about the book? Did Mrs. Armstrong read something scandalous and now she's gossiping again? You know she can't resist meddling, especially when it involves someone else's downfall. The image doesn't scream drama at first glance, but in this show, even the quietest rooms have secrets buried under the floorboards. Then we move to the much-anticipated image of Gladys and Hector together again. And not just standing next to each other, she's in that stunning new dress, looking like she stepped straight out of a royal portrait, and he's giving her that gaze. You know the one. The "I might be in love with you" stare. The body language says it all. He's completely smitten, and she's finally opening up to him. This might be the moment Gladys starts seeing Hector as more than a charming distraction. And we see them again in multiple photos, even in her bedroom. Yes, her bedroom. And now the speculation gets real. Are they just talking? Is he being inappropriate? That hand placement is very questionable. Are we heading towards scandal, or just a flirtation getting out of control? There's another glimpse of Peggy and William having their perfect little moment in the sun. The picnic looks sweet, and the way William looks at her, full of admiration. But if we've learned anything, it's that love doesn't survive long without interference. Elizabeth Kirkland, William's mother, is plotting behind the scenes. And it's not subtle anymore. She's seen talking to a brand new character, Mrs. Ernestine Brown, and fans of Deadpool may recognize her as Blind Al. But in this universe, Ernestine is no comic relief. She's powerful, well-connected, and, most dangerously, armed with information about Peggy's tragic past. From what we've pieced together, she's the one who tells Elizabeth the truth, that Peggy had a child, a son, who was taken from her at birth and later died. And we already know how this is going to go. Elizabeth will twist it, weaponize it, and drop the bomb on William without giving Peggy a chance to speak for herself, because she doesn't want this relationship to work. She doesn't want Peggy and her family. And sadly, William seems all too ready to believe what his mother tells him. That moment from the trailer, when Peggy tries to speak and William shuts her down, is going to come back to haunt them. We also get a haunting shot of Marion. Her face says everything: regret, sorrow, disappointment in herself and in the men around her. She's sitting on her bed, and Ada is there, being the ever-patient, always-wise support system we all need in our lives. That hug they share in the trailer? It probably happens right after Marion breaks down about Oscar, or maybe about Larry. Maybe both. She's trusted the wrong people again. And this isn't just about romance, it's about her self-worth. Marion is constantly trying to navigate this impossible world of rules and expectations, and it's finally catching up to her emotionally. She tried to be strong, to make quick, firm decisions, but now she's wondering if she's made the wrong call. Again. Then there's Bertha, calm, poised, and quietly furious. We see her face in one of the stills, clearly after hearing about the book, and now Mr. McAllister is at her door. We don't know what's said, but we know it's not good. McAllister is a man who's used to flattery and alliances. But Bertha? She doesn't tolerate betrayal. She might be new money, but she plays the game with lethal precision. And something tells me she's going to turn this scandal into an opportunity. Because that's what she does best. When others panic, she pounces. There's also something strange going on with Mr. Borden. We already mentioned the sprinting scene in the trailer, but in these stills, he's missing. And that silence is louder than any scream. What is he hiding? We know he's not really who he says he is. Could someone have finally discovered the truth? Could it be that McAllister outed him in the book? Or maybe someone inside the household, maybe Adelheid, learned something and used it for leverage. Whatever it is, Mr. Borden's days as the charming chef might be numbered. One of the most confusing moments in the preview shows Marion looking up at Oscar, and the lighting is so dim, the whole thing feels ominous. Did he come home drunk? Is he spiraling out of control? We already know he's grieving, we know he's emotionally unstable, and we know he's ashamed of how deeply he loved John. But what happens if he completely loses himself? Marion might be the only one trying to help him through it, but even she has her limits. We also see Mrs. Armstrong holding McAllister's book, her eyes wide and lips tight. You can practically hear the gears turning in her head. You just know she's reading the juiciest parts and mentally preparing to whisper them to everyone who will listen. And let's be honest, half the fun of watching The Gilded Age is seeing Mrs. Armstrong deliver her trademark judgmental glare while sipping tea and spreading scandal. And then there's the deeper theme of this episode, excommunication. It's not just about McAllister being cut off from high society. It's about all the characters who are being pushed out of circles they once thought were safe. Marion, cut off from love. Peggy, cut off from her chance at happiness. Oscar, cut off from grief and truth. And Bertha? She might be trying to hold on to power, but if her own staff is betraying her, even she's not untouchable. That's the beauty of this show, how personal all the public drama really is. Every scandal, every snub, every whispered insult, it's not just about climbing a social ladder, it's about belonging, survival, and legacy. And as we head into episode 7, those battles are hitting a breaking point. One of the most intense storylines to watch is the fallout from Ward McAllister's tell-all book. This isn't some little vanity project. This is a nuclear bomb dropped right in the center of New York's elite. We're talking about names, traditions, whispered secrets, personal business, all laid bare for the world to read. And while it might seem like a distant social squabble to some, this book could genuinely change lives. Mrs. Astor, who's always carried herself with calculated grace, is absolutely livid. You can see it in her eyes during the meeting at the Van Ryn house. She isn't just annoyed, she's ready to annihilate McAllister's reputation. And Bertha? She's taking notes, literally, because this is her chance to either align herself with the old guard or use the chaos to cement her dominance. But Ward McAllister isn't going down without a fight. That shot of him visiting Bertha, likely trying to beg for some kind of support or protection, feels like a last-ditch attempt to stay relevant. And something tells me Bertha's not going to help him unless it benefits her directly. She doesn't hand out mercy for free. The question is, what leverage does he still have? Did he keep something out of the book that he could still use as blackmail? Or worse, did he leave something in the book that nobody's noticed yet, but when it's discovered, will bring everything crashing down? Now back to Oscar. His grief over John Adams's death is the most raw and human thread we've seen in his storyline so far. And yet, he still can't show it openly. That hug with Marion, yes, the one where he's sobbing into her shoulder, isn't just sad. It's agonizing. Because it shows us how deeply alone he really is. He can't go to his aunt. He can't go to his mother. He can't talk to society. John wasn't just a lover. He was possibly the only person who saw Oscar for who he truly was. And now he's gone. What's left for Oscar? Shame? Regret? And how will this affect his choices going forward? He clearly wants to stay afloat in high society, but now he's more vulnerable than ever. And while Oscar's emotions are finally spilling out, Marion is having her own emotional collapse. We see it in the way she stares off into space, the way her jaw trembles when Ada is in the room. She made a rash decision by ending things with Larry, and now, with every passing day, she's realizing how deeply it's affecting her. She's not just mourning the loss of a relationship, she's mourning the idea that she might never find someone who truly understands her. She tried to play by the rules, she tried to be proper, thoughtful, respectable, but now she feels like it's all falling apart. And what hurts more than anything, she did it to herself. Larry, meanwhile, is back, and he's not staying quiet. After receiving the letter and the returned ring, he's confused, angry, and blaming his mother. But what's more interesting is his decision to go find Marion, not just at her house, but at the school. That's a bold move. That means he's not giving up. And that's important because it shows that maybe, just maybe, there's still a chance. But Marion? She's not in the mindset to hear apologies right now. She's still in that self-protect mode, still building walls to keep herself from being hurt again, still thinking about the time she gave someone her heart and had it shattered. So when Larry finds her, what will she do? Let's shift back to Peggy and William, because their storyline is about to hit a breaking point. Their picnic is sweet. The way they look at each other feels like genuine love. But then, boom, Elizabeth steps in with the nuclear option. She finds out the truth about Peggy's past and drops it like a bomb in the middle of their relationship. Let's not forget, Peggy didn't do anything wrong. She was manipulated by her own father. Her child was taken from her. She was told he died. She mourned, then found out he had lived and died again. That trauma never really left her, and now she's being judged for it. Again. William, unfortunately, still has that fatal flaw. He listens to his mother. He doesn't trust his own instincts, and when Peggy tried to tell him, he cut her off. So now, when the truth comes out, it's going to be harder to forgive, not because of what Peggy did, but because of what he didn't do. He didn't listen. He didn't trust her. And depending on how he reacts next episode, this could be the end of their story, or the start of a painful rebuilding process. Let's not ignore the mole subplot either. This whole mystery in the Russell household is growing more intense. Adelheid is still the obvious suspect. She lingers a little too long in every room, hears things she shouldn't, and has access to almost everything. But again, is that too easy? What if the mole isn't her? What if it's someone we've trusted from the start, maybe even someone above the staff? Could this be a planted twist to take attention off a much bigger betrayal? And then there's Gladys. Honestly, it's nice to finally see her step into her own storyline instead of being treated like a pawn in everyone else's schemes. Her time with Hector seems to be giving her confidence, even if it's slightly dangerous. She's asking questions about the estate. She's being more direct. She's growing up. And Hector? He's clearly thrilled by her attention. But if they go too far, if their relationship becomes physical, well, that opens up a whole new chapter of scandal. Now, let's talk about Ada. She's been such a quiet, steady character throughout the show, but her presence is always powerful. That moment when Marion breaks down in her arms is going to be one of the most emotionally raw scenes in the episode. Ada has always played second fiddle to Agnes, but in times of crisis, she's the one people turn to. And this episode reminds us why. Because she listens, she feels, and she never judges. Ada is the emotional glue that holds the Van Ryn house together. And honestly, she deserves more credit. Meanwhile, Mrs. Astor, Bertha, and Mrs. Fish, what a power trio. Their secret meeting is a declaration of war against Ward McAllister. And if you thought society was brutal before, wait until they start playing dirty. What will they do? Public humiliation? A private excommunication? Or something more sinister like destroying his connections and his income? Remember, in this world, social death is real death. And McAllister? He's walking straight into the lion's den. We're getting closer and closer to the season finale, and everything is escalating. Relationships are shattering, power is shifting, and all the carefully built facades are beginning to crack. We've seen her play the social game with cold brilliance. She's built her empire from scratch. She's faced snubs, insults, betrayal, and still managed to rise. But now, with Ward McAllister's book putting her and her household under scrutiny, with whispers of a mole threatening to expose the machinery behind her perfect image, and with Larry furious over Marion, she's at a new kind of crossroads. And this time, she's not reacting. She's plotting. There's a moment in the trailer that shows her just standing in silence, staring out the window. That's not defeat. That's calculation. You can feel it. She's planning her next move, and knowing Bertha, it'll be bold, strategic, and possibly devastating to someone. My guess? If she finds out who's been leaking information from her home, she'll make an example out of them. And if that person is someone close, someone like Adelheid, it won't matter. Bertha isn't sentimental when it comes to power. She will burn bridges to save her legacy. At the same time, George Russell is getting pulled deeper into family drama. He's already furious with Bertha over Gladys and the Duke. Now Larry's upset, possibly feeling like his parents are interfering in his love life. And if Bertha's name is being dragged through McAllister's book, George will have to decide, protect the family's name or confront the truth. George is a man who loves deeply, but plays dirty when necessary. If the book reveals any weaknesses in the Russell Empire, you better believe he'll deal with it, and not politely. Meanwhile, the emotional core of this episode might just come down to Marion and Oscar, two characters who have always tried to play by the rules, but are now realizing those rules were never made for them. Marion tried to be the good girl, the rational one, the one who held her own. But in doing so, she may have lost the one man who truly saw her. Oscar tried to be the dutiful son, the charming socialite, the manipulator who always landed on his feet. But he fell in love, and now he's falling apart. There's something powerful about the idea that these two, who've always felt a little out of place in their own lives, might actually find healing in each other. Not romantically, but emotionally. Because in a world where everyone wears a mask, Marion and Oscar have seen each other without one. That matters. And if this episode gives us a moment where Oscar confesses, maybe not his full truth, but just enough, it'll be the start of a redemption arc we didn't know we needed. And then there's the slow burn tragedy happening with Peggy and William. If Elizabeth Kirkland spills the truth about Peggy's past, and let's be real, she will, everything will come crashing down. William is at a turning point. He can either prove he's different from his cold, controlling mother, or fall in line with her, like every other man in her world. And Peggy? She doesn't deserve to be judged. She doesn't deserve to carry the weight of a trauma she didn't choose. If William rejects her, it won't just be a breakup, it'll be a betrayal, the kind that changes her forever. We also need to talk about Gladys. Her story is usually quieter, but not this time. If her relationship with Hector goes further, emotionally or physically, she'll be stepping into dangerous territory. Remember, she's still living under her parents' roof. And while George has been more lenient than Bertha, he still expects Gladys to marry appropriately. Hector is charming, yes, but he's also impulsive, unpredictable, and probably not up to Bertha's standards. This romance could turn into a full-blown scandal if anyone finds out they're meeting in private, especially in her bedroom. If the mole knows, this could be weaponized against Bertha, against Gladys, and even against George. And finally, the title of the episode, Excommunicated. It's not just about Ward McAllister being removed from polite society. It's a theme that stretches across every character. Oscar, excommunicated from love and honesty. Marion, excommunicated from happiness by her own choices. Peggy, excommunicated by class and race. Larry, emotionally excommunicated by Marion and misunderstood by his family. Even Bertha, who's clawed her way to the top, now finds herself vulnerable to betrayal from within. This is the episode where masks start to slip, where facades begin to crack, where people are forced to ask, who am I really? And what am I willing to sacrifice to keep my place in this gilded world? And remember, we only have one more episode after this. That means episode 7 has to set up every domino that will fall in the finale. Every tear, every confession, every scandal that comes out now will determine how season 3 ends, and what kind of world we'll be walking into for season 4. So what do you think? Is Oscar about to spiral beyond repair? Will Marion take Larry back? Or is it truly over? Is the mole who we think it is?